Eagles Nation, get ready. A storm is brewing in South Philly. In the last few hours, the Philadelphia Eagles made a bold move, and all signs point to major news coming out of the NovaCare complex this week. This franchise doesn't sleep. It builds. It evolves. And with a front office that refuses to settle for anything less than greatness, we can feel the energy shifting once again. If you believe this team is ready to fly even higher, smash that like button and type it loud in the comments. Howie is the best GM in the NFL. The news coming out of Dallas this week is nothing short of a seismic shift in the NFC East landscape, and it has direct implications for the Philadelphia Eagles. As Micah Parsons and the Cowboys enter a standoff that's growing uglier by the day, it's impossible for any Eagles fan not to feel a bit of deja vu, except with a twist. This time, it's not our franchise facing drama. It's the rival across the division crumbling under the weight of its own mismanagement. Micah Parsons, the Cowboys' generational pass rusher and four-time Pro Bowler, is reportedly on the verge of either demanding a trade or cutting ties altogether with Dallas. The relationship between Parsons and Cowboys management, most notably Jerry Jones, has deteriorated to the point where both sides aren't even on speaking terms. Parsons' agent tried to renegotiate a deal after direct talks between Parsons and Jones fell through, but the Cowboys brass refused to entertain further discussion. The result? A star defender showing up to training camp but refusing to participate in on-field drills. And how did it get this far? Simple. Inaction. Last year, when Parsons became extension eligible, the Cowboys had a golden opportunity to get ahead of the market. They could have locked him in at a then-top rate of around $35 million per year. But they waited, and then watched as T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and Danielle Hunter signed massive deals, pushing the edge rusher market to north of $40 million per year. Now, Parsons is asking to become the highest-paid defensive player in NFL history, reportedly eyeing a $41 million plus annual salary. It's classic Cowboys, isn't it? A franchise too proud and too stubborn to act decisively. Instead of handling business, they're creating another PR nightmare and alienating their best defensive player. And let's not forget the historical irony here. Jerry Jones has been through this before. He's paid big money at the wrong time for the wrong players. Prescott's bloated deal. Waiting too long on CD Lamb. Now this? It's a trend. And this one could break them. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the contrast couldn't be more glaring. Every player reported for the first day of training camp. No drama. No holdouts. No contract disputes. That's because Howie Roseman handled business early. He took care of the Eagles' core, avoided distractions, and positioned the team for success in 2025. That's how you build a winning culture. And here's where it gets even more interesting. If Parsons truly becomes available, should the Eagles consider picking up the phone? The idea sounds crazy, but the logistics are worth exploring. For starters, Parsons is from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He played at Penn State. He's seen up close how the Eagles operate and has publicly praised Howie Roseman's roster-building approach. He's also been spotted courtside at Sixers games. This guy knows Philly, and by all accounts, he respects it. Now imagine Parsons in midnight green. It's a stretch. Yes, division rival trades of this magnitude are nearly unheard of. The Charles Haley trade in the early 90s, from the Niners to the Cowboys, is probably the only real comparison. And even that happened in a very different NFL landscape. But the Eagles have the assets. They're flush with 2026 and 2027 draft capital, including multiple third-rounders and extra picks in the 4th and 5th rounds. If anyone could make a deal like this work, it's Howie. Still, there's the question of whether Jerry Jones could live with himself after trading a player of Parsons' caliber to his most bitter rival. It's hard to picture, but here's the thing. If Parsons' holdout turns into a full-blown trade demand, and Dallas needs to recoup value fast, the Eagles could offer one of the most attractive packages on the market. They can afford it, and they're in win-now mode. If the Cowboys are willing to listen, even begrudgingly, Howie will make that call. And then there's the other shoe, Terry McLaurin. The Commanders' veteran wide receiver has officially requested a trade, frustrated by stalled contract talks. The man has racked up 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons while catching passes from a carousel of underwhelming quarterbacks. From Carson Wentz to Sam Howell, McLaurin has been Washington's most reliable offensive weapon. And now, after putting up 13 touchdowns in 2024, his career high, he wants to be paid like a top 10 wide receiver. He's earned it. Instead, the Commanders are dragging their feet. Joshua Harris, who owns both the Sixers and the Commanders, shelled out for Paul George but hasn't found the funds to lock in his franchise receiver. It's bizarre, and frankly, it's another example of dysfunction inside the NFC East that the Eagles can capitalize on. The Commanders have a legitimate Super Bowl window right now, with Jaden Daniels on a cheap rookie contract. Why wouldn't they pay their best weapon? McLaurin isn't even asking to leave. He's simply asking to be valued. He's 29, yes, but he's been durable and productive and hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. And yet, Washington seems willing to risk it all just to save a few bucks. Without McLaurin, the Commanders' WR room would be led by Deebo Samuel, who has won 1,000-yard season in his career, and Noah Brown. That's not exactly a fearsome group. Even if they go shopping in free agency for Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen, that doesn't move the needle enough. And this all loops back to the Eagles. Because while chaos reigns in Dallas and Washington, the Birds are calm, calculated, and cohesive. No drama, no distractions, just a front office that makes smart, timely moves, and a roster that's laser-focused on Week 1 at Lincoln Financial Field, when they just might face a Cowboys team missing its best defensive player. Let's be real, if the Eagles were to somehow land Micah Parsons, it would instantly go down as one of the boldest, most seismic trades in franchise history. It would also send a very clear message to the rest of the NFL. The Eagles are all in, not just for 2025, but for another championship run. And it's not just about Parsons the player, it's about the statement. The Eagles would be stealing the crown jewel of the Cowboys defense and plugging him into an already loaded front seven. That's the type of power move that can shift the balance of power in the NFC for years. But of course, with a move like this comes a heavy cost. You're not just talking about giving up multiple first-round picks and mid-round depth, you're also taking on the contract. Parsons reportedly wants over $41 million per year. That would make him the highest-paid defensive player in league history. Can the Eagles afford it? On paper, it's tight. But Howie Roseman has consistently found ways to create cap flexibility. Backloaded deals, restructures, creative bonuses. He's a master at navigating the cap landscape. If Howie believes Parsons is worth it, he'll find a way to make the numbers work. The emotional layer to this situation can't be ignored either. Parsons grew up an Eagles fan. He's from Harrisburg. He went to Penn State. He's cheered on the Sixers from courtside seats. If he were to wear midnight green, it wouldn't be just a business move, it would be personal. You better believe he'd come out with something to prove, not just to Dallas, but to everyone who ever doubted him. And let's be honest, putting Parsons alongside Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, Hasten Reddick, and Jordan Davis, that's a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. That front would be the most feared in football, period. Now let's pivot back to the Terry McLaurin saga, because this is equally significant for the Eagles. While Parsons' situation is dramatic, McLaurin's feels more disappointing. Here's a guy who's done everything right. Drafted in the 3rd round. Never a diva. Played through bad teams, bad quarterbacks, and bad management. Yet he still managed to become one of the most productive and consistent receivers in the NFL. He's got 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. And last year, when Washington finally gave him a real quarterback in Jaden Daniels, McLaurin responded with a career-high 13 touchdowns. So what's the issue? Simple, he's now underpaid, and the Commanders are hesitant to pay market value for a receiver entering his age 30 season. But here's the thing, McLaurin has been durable, he's been reliable, and he's still explosive. If this were a team building for the future, sure, maybe you let him walk. But this team has a shot to compete now. You've got a young franchise QB, an upgraded offensive line, and a defense full of